Here. That's why I get this spot. Yeah. Yeah, he's back there.
Let's call the meeting to order. All rise for the salute of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting is convened in accordance with provisions of the Open Public Meeting Acts of New Jersey. Let the official minutes reflect that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by publishing a notice in the Asbury Park Press on Wednesday, January 8th, 2020, the Press of Atlantic City, and the Star Ledger, and also forwarded to the Toms River Times, Toms River Patch, and WOBM News on Monday, January 6th, 2020, and thereafter posting same on the Town Hall Bulletin Board for such notices and filing same with the Township Clerk pursuant to a resolution adopted by the Township Council on Friday, January 3rd, 2020. The meeting dates have also been posted on the Township's webpage. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Urick.
Here.
Councilman Kopp.
Here.
Councilman Lotano.
Here.
Councilman Roderick.
Here.
Councilman Turnbach.
Here.
Council Vice President Gagan.
Here.
Council President Maruka.
Present.
First item, the approval of minutes from November 10th, 2020.
Move the minutes.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilman Kopp, seconded by Councilwoman Urick. Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilwoman Urick.
Yes.
Councilman Lotano.
Yes.
Councilman Roderick.
I'm going to have to abstain. I was absent visiting a specialist doctor.
Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes.
Council President Maruka.
Yes.
Tonight, our honoring resolutions and presentations, we have the Silver Award for Lauren Hamboy, Allison Scannell, and Regina Messenger. We have the NJDEP Award for New Jersey Recycling Leaders, our DPW Clean Communities Department, and the retirement of Sergeant James Riley.
Move the honoring resolutions and presentations.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Urick, seconded by Council Vice President Gagan. Councilwoman Urick.
Yes.
Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Lotano.
Yes.
Councilman Roderick.
Yes.
Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Council President Maruka.
The Silver Awards we're presenting tonight are by resolution and proclamation only. They will be distributed through the mayor's office to each individual at a date and time to have them come in and bring their families in and take a photo. So I just want to let you know they're not here this evening, but we are honoring them, and I vote yes. Okay. Council, let's go down to the well, please, and then we'll do the presentations. Would you like to join us when we bring up DPW?
What's that?
Would you like to join us when we bring up DPW?
Sure.
Anthony now.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you to talk a little bit about the first thing. We'll get that one, okay?
Okay, sure.
will be for our DPW. It's from a DEP, Outstanding Educator in Educational Program Recognition, to the Toms River Department of Public Works. And we have our Acting Public Works Director, Anthony Bagnola, here, and I'd like to have him come up. And I'd like to also bring up our Administrator, Lou Amoruso, to go over a little bit about what the program entailed.
Thank you, Council President. Part of the program that's funded through the grant Clean Communities is for education, and we've had an active program over the last several years, all funded by DEP grants. We reach out to children in schools and other civic organizations, and it's been very well received. The motto, the game plan with the recycling and Clean Communities education is to get the children acclimated early so that they become avid recyclers and participate in Clean Communities activities throughout the state.
Anthony, on behalf of Mayor Hill and the council, we'd like to present to you this proclamation to your crew at DPW, especially the program coordinator and everyone that's involved with it. Great job. Thank you. Thank you for a job well done.
Thank you very much, everybody. This award, I brought this award this is right from the DEP itself. We're delighted to get the award from not only from the DEP, but being recognized by the mayor and council here today. I thank you very much. When you're recognized, it's very delightful to get recognized, and I'm going to be remiss if I don't mention John Clark and Cheryl Pereira, who were the backbone of the program. We go into a ton of schools. We use Rocky the Robot through different field events and festivals and stuff, and we reach thousands of people, thousands of kids. So it really is it's really a great program, and we're going to continue on educating people. Recycling is big right now, so just keep your plastic bags out of the can. That's all. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
And our next recognition is for Sergeant James Riley, who is retiring. I'd like to bring up Chief Little to do the honors and give us a little bit about Chief Riley. Chief Little, and then Sergeant Riley, and his partner, of course.
First, thank you to the council and the administration for recognizing Sergeant Riley. 31 years of dedicated service, all of them on midnights. So I don't know how somebody can do that. I think he said you get used to it. No, you get used to feeling lousy. And when he gets back into the civilian life, I'm sure he's going to have this energy he never knew he had. And Brutus, his partner, serving us for over 7 years, Jim, came on when he was less than 2 years old. He has no idea what he's in for. He's going to go home and he's going to want to get in that police car every day and go to work. And so he's going to go a little stir crazy, I'm sure. But I'm sure Jim can keep him busy. But congratulations to Jim. Unfortunately, we couldn't have our department here tonight because of space issues, so we're going to have a nice send-off for him tomorrow. We do a walkout ceremony outside our headquarters, and we literally release him back to his family. So, Jim, thank you for all years of service. Congratulations.
And Sergeant Riley, on behalf of the mayor and the council, we'd like to present you, and as the mayor always says, it's funny you're retiring, and now we're giving you a clock. So you have all the time you can. You don't have to be any place at a special time, but just recognition for your years of dedication to the Toms River Police Department and our residents, and we're grateful for your service to our community. And enjoy. happy and healthy retirement. And let's bring your family up for some photos. And if you'd like to stay with you, work. And if Brutus wants to stay with you,
On behalf of my family and the canines that I've trained, I want to say thank you. It's been an honor to serve the people of this town. And when I first got here, they reminded me right away that it's not my badge, it's the township's badge, and it was an honor to wear it. I've worked midnights for 31 years because it's where I had the most fun. And if you can't go to work and have fun, then it's really not a job that you want to do. So for everything that I've accomplished in this town, I just want to say thank you. And working here has been nothing short of fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, Allison, you can continue, please.
Continuing on, item 7 is a bond ordinance appropriating $5 million and authorizing the issuance of $4,750,000 in bonds and notes to fund various capital improvements and the acquisition of capital equipment, including the local match for the federal build grant in Phase 1 of the federally mandated radio frequency change. This is a final reading.
This is the final reading and the public hearing on this bond ordinance. But before I call anyone up for public comment, I'd like our CFO, Alex Davidson, to come up and just give us a little background on this. I know you did it at the last meeting when we first introduced it, Alex, but if for members of the public that are here this evening, you can do a repeat performance.
Thank you, Council President. So this $5 million bond ordinance, first I want to say that there was a resolution on the last meeting canceling an equal dollar amount from our capital program, so our spending threshold and our net debt are staying the same, if not decreasing slightly. That resolution was adopted last meeting. This ordinance is essentially two sub-ordinances. One of them is the local match of a federal build grant of $5.66 million. There's a local match required of it of about $2.5 million, slightly less. Without us putting up that funding, the federal government will not give us that money, or award us that money, I should say. We are the only municipality in New Jersey to have received that funding. The other part of it is for Phase 1 of our radio project that the federal government is mandating a radio frequency change. And because of that, we have to get new end-user equipment, portable radios, core radio tower, dispatch consoles. But what we're doing is we're breaking it up into phases. This is only the Phase 1 of it. Part of the money, the most critical part of the money, is replacement of the server that our dispatch center is currently operating on. It's a Windows 2000 server. So to say that that's critical need infrastructure is an understatement.
Okay, thank you so much.
I have a question. Alex, when is the date? When is the date for the upgrade? When are we required to have this upgrade by?
We are required to complete the upgrade, I believe, in 4 years.
2024, I thought.
Because
What-
2024.
there are a lot of communities that are not modernizing their radio equipment right now surrounding us. So I'm just curious as to
Not all communities maintain their own, however, because of the size.
And what do? They jump in on the county, correct?
Right, however, we are precluded from doing that. The county will not take us under as a dispatch shared service. They will not do that. We've had discussions with them prior to implementing.
But this is due in 2024, but,
Yes, but we can't just do it now, because if the dispatch center goes down now, primarily the core, if that fails now, we're going to have police officers on the road that aren't going to be able to talk to each other.
how much is the server? I think when we talked, it was under,
The server
under.
itself, I believe, is somewhere in the neighborhood of $500,000 to $700,000.
much lower than 5 million, correct?
It's, the whole ordinance is not for the server, Councilman. The whole ordinance is not just for the.
No, I know there's another 2.6 million for a loop
So there's
downtown, right?
consoles that have to go with it, so in lieu of.
No, but I
that-
mean, there's the construction downtown as well, right? The road traffic is
That's
part of
The
this?
bill grant.
That's the other half of the bond ordinance. This half of it, just for the dispatch, is to break up the between $10 and $15 million project into smaller phases, so that we can do little by little and minimize the tax impact and the debt service of the annual budget.
And then how much have we borrowed in total this year? In addition to the tax increase, I know the taxes went up 7%. How much was it the total?
We
total bond?
authorized new debt of approximately $9 million, $10 million, but we reduced
Yeah, I
our
think it
net
was
debt. We
10.
reduced our net debt by paying down more than we authorized to borrow.
We took on about 10 million new, correct?
The net debt was a decrease of a few $100,000.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Okay. This is the final reading and the public hearing on this ordinance. Anyone wishing to speak on this ordinance, please raise your hand once called upon. Come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Anyone from the public?
Seeing none, I move to close the public comments portion for this ordinance.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye. Council's pleasure?
Move the ordinance on final.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Yurick, seconded by Councilman Lotano. Councilwoman Yurick.
Yes.
Councilman Lotano.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Roderick.
Again, lots of other communities are entering into shared service agreements to upgrade their radios, and they're not taking on a $5 million burden. Again, I know $2.5 million is toward the radios, but again, we should have explored more opportunities to share services with neighboring communities and/or the county. I've seen nothing so far that shows that the county was not willing to take us on. In fact, when we had prior discussions, it was my interpretation that we could do that, at least with the prior council. So I'm looking at this here, and I'm looking at taxes increasing by 7% this year, and I just think this is more spending. So I'm going to vote no.
Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Council Vice President Gagan.
Before I cast my vote, I was part of the meetings that have explored a number of opportunities, regionalizing, which I'm certainly a fan of, and whatnot. Tom's River is just too big of a town, too much going on for the county to take over, the police dispatching services. I hope this isn't a first step in defunding the police, but I vote yes for this program, or this bond.
Council President Maruka.
Like our CFO had said at the last meeting, we had retired $5 million in debt, so this was actually a debt-neutral bond ordinance, so I vote yes. Okay. Next is our consent agenda. All matters listed under items consent agenda will be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. There'll be no separate discussion on these items. If discussion is desired on any item, that item will be considered separately. Anyone from the council have an item?
I'd like a roll call on F, G, and V, please.
Okay, F is in Frank,
F is in Frank, G is in Jerry, and V is in Victor.
V is in Victor. Okay. Anyone from the public have an item they would like? Sir? H and I. All right. Anyone else? Can I have a motion on the balance of the consent agenda, except for items F, G, V, H, and I?
Move the balance of the consent agenda, accepting items F, G, H, I, and V as in Victor.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Yurick, seconded by Councilman Kopp. Councilwoman Yurick.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Lotano. Councilman Roderick.
Yes on the balance of the consent agenda.
Yes. Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes.
Council President Maruka.
Yes. Okay, can we have a roll call on item F?
Move item F.
Second.
Item F, motion was made by Councilwoman Yurick, seconded by Councilman Kopp. Councilwoman Yurick.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Lotano.
Yes.
Councilman Roderick.
The township bonded nearly $1 million, $4 million in vehicles, and nearly $1 million went toward garbage trucks. A number of these garbage trucks had 70,000 miles on them. These big, giant diesel trucks, I mean, they last 500,000 miles, and here we are spending $300,000 on a garbage truck today. I vote no for item F. We have to get spending under control and taxes under control. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and this is not the time to be spending like this.
Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes.
Council President Maruka.
I have a question for Mr. Amaru. So 500,000 miles, is that the normal for a garbage truck? 500,000?
No, Council President.
Okay.
Generally, these trucks are good for about 150,000 miles tops. The trucks that we're replacing are in the 20-year range. The mileage on the odometer is not really indicative of the job these trucks do. We've got 42,000 stops. They cycle 1,200 times a day. Other parts wear out. They become unsafe. They become non-productive. They become more of a liability for repairs. Part of the capital plan is to make sure that the municipality has the equipment it needs to provide essential services. It's not just, voting down every expenditure. There's a cost associated with public services that we have to provide. These are essential services. Trash collection is one of them that we're required to provide to our residents by law.
Thank you so much.
I do have a question then for the business administrator as well. Is it true that we sell the trucks with the 70,000 miles? Do we sell those, right?
I'm sorry?
We sell the trucks with the older trucks, the ones you're replacing, we sell them, correct? They don't go to a scrap heap, or they get sold to like another
It
municipality?
all depends on the condition of the truck. They go to auction.
They go to, so
they
people
go to
do buy,
auction.
so people do buy them, so they are still viable vehicles then, correct?
No, I wouldn't agree with that. They buy them for a host of reasons. They can buy them for parts. They can buy them for scrap.
Well, somebody buys them.
If they get a, if we
And we
get a
have
trade-in.
mechanics, we do have mechanics,
Well,
like a
I'm
big...
not going to give answer.
Okay.
I vote yes. Item G.
Move item G.
Second.
Motion was made to move item G by Councilwoman Yurick, seconded by Councilman Kopp. Councilwoman Yurick.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Lotano.
Yes.
Councilman Roderick.
Here we go again. We got 4 SUVs for code enforcement in the middle of a pandemic, $100,000. I don't understand why the code enforcement officers need SUVs or why we need vehicles at all. But if those vehicles, like I said, we have mechanics that maintain vehicles full-time and a garage. But again, this is the middle of a pandemic. Lots of folks are out of work, and we're buying new SUVs. So for G, respectfully, I vote no.
Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Council Vice President Gagan.
These SUVs are on state bid and probably the cheapest of SUVs, maybe an upgrade from a tin can. It's nothing lavish. It's required to do their job. I vote yes.
Council President Maruka.
Mr. Amoruso, just another question for you. These are also going to the building department, and usually building department, what they take in revenue, they usually keep to fund the department, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I vote yes. Item H.
Move item H.
What, we haven't done, no, I'm sorry, this isn't a roll call. This would be,
Sorry. Discussion?
It's a resident.
it's a resident. Item H and I's. Just your name and address for the record, please.
Sam Foster, 108 Hugo Drive. Right now, I live in Brick. I have a couple concerns about the H and I. In the event that the governor or the state orders, or even I don't know if the president would have sort of do this, orders a more harsh shutdown of sporting events in the state, how would I guess the money, the unused money that's appropriated under H&I would just go back into the regular township, the general budget of Toms River, am I correct?
They would stay there. I mean, this is only if they are used as skating instructors or if they have the league game and they have a referee. So this is just
So if there's a shutdown, then
correct. The funds will not be
That-
expended unless the services are provided.
Gotcha, because I know that I think it was Brick Township, I should pay more attention to this, but I'm trying to get out of there. But one of the sports teams, I think it was the Dragons, canceled their season because of COVID-19 test positive for some of the, and so I was just concerned about that, so thank you.
You're welcome. Can I have a motion on H and I together, please?
Move H and I.
I'll second that.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Yurick for H and I and seconded by Council Vice President Gagan. Councilwoman Yurick.
Yes.
Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Latano.
Yes.
Councilman Roderick.
Yes.
Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Council President Maruka.
Yes. Item B.
Move item V.
Second.
Was that Councilman Roderick? Moving second? Councilman Kopp. Motion was made on item V as in Victor, moved by Councilwoman Yurick, seconded by Councilman Kopp. Councilwoman Yurick.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Lotano.
Yes.
Councilman Roderick.
I'd like to know why the township, again, feels the need to put out a request for proposals for a public relations firm. So we're out there looking for a PR firm. Earlier on today, we had somebody that's employed by the police department to take pictures and to do press releases. We have somebody in the township who's employed as a public information officer as well.
Who is
And
out
I'm
on
just-
maternity leave right now.
So we're putting out an RFP. There hasn't been a press release from the mayor's office, and I think there's only been one since he's taken office. So I'm just curious as to why we would be employing people that normally do this, and why we would be putting out an RFP to hire a firm to make the mayor and council look better. Again, if you want to look better, perhaps we shouldn't be raising taxes and spending people's money wastefully, and then we wouldn't have a public relations problem. But frankly, I think this is ridiculous that we would put out a request for proposals for a public relations firm. This is a township, not a corporation. So I vote no.
Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes.
Council President Maruka.
Yes.
Tonight, we do not have any reports, so we move on to the bills.
Move the bill list.
I make a motion to move the bill list with a separate roll call vote for purchase order 2005129.
I'll second that then.
Motion to move the bill list with one exception of the bill 20-05129 made by Council Vice President Gagan, seconded by Councilman Turnbach. Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes, with an extension to 20-05873, Southern First Aid Squad. Yes to the balance.
Councilman Turnbach.
Abstain from PO 20-05880, payable to the magistrates. 20-02017, payable to Siddle Holzappel. 20-505271, payable to law office of Darcy McGuckin. I'm a local attorney in town. I have conflicts with those three. Yes to the balance, other than the one we're holding for discussion.
Councilwoman Yurick.
Abstain from PO 20-05270 and 20-05839, payable to Remington and Vernick Engineers. Yes to the balance.
Councilman Kopp.
Need to abstain from 20-05800, payable to Owen and Little Associates, and 20-05873, payable to Silverton First Aid. Yes to the balance.
Councilman Lotano.
I have the following abstentions, please. It is 20-05675, payable to CME Associates only, line 3, as it pertains to Lotano Development, and 20-03562, payable to Mr. Keys. Yes to the balance.
Councilman Roderick.
I have no conflicts. However, I'm voting no on Bill 20-05271, payable to Dasty, Murphy, and McGuckin PC. Mr. McGuckin has yet to sit on the dais since he's been appointed. He has not attended a single meeting. It's been Mr. Merlino or Mr. Fitzsimmons. I'm not sure why we're paying him, so I'm voting no on that. And I'm also voting no on 20-5129, payable to Kevin Reardon. First, this was unnecessary and should have been handled by in-house attorneys. Secondly, given Mr. Reardon showed up online for a 30-minute court appearance and wrote a short brief, the bill is very, very excessive. But then again, Mr. Reardon was a donor to Mayor Hill and his council running mates, and we know this mayor likes to reward his contributors. I've asked for a bill with an hourly breakdown of Mr. Reardon's services, but have not been provided one yet, which is very shady, frankly. I also would like to address Councilman Kopp's comments at the last council meeting.
Wait, we're on the bill list right now.
I'm talking about a bill. It's
But-
my turn.
but that
It's my
one they-
turn to
excuse
speak,
me,
Council
excuse me,
President. It's
excuse
my
me,
turn to speak. I
Councilman-
haven't voted yet.
Councilman Roderick,
I haven't
but
voted
they
yet.
pulled that from the bill list. That
I
was
haven't
not
voted
it.
yet.
But
I
that
haven't
is not
but
part of
I'm-
the bill list.
I haven't voted yet.
Are you on the remainder of the bill list except for 205129? That was pulled.
But I'm still speaking.
Okay, but are you voting on the bill list?
When I'm done, I'll vote.
Specifically on the bill
When I'm
list?
done, I'll vote.
This isn't council comment time. This is bill list.
I'm not commenting. I'm commenting on bills. Thank you. So I asked for an hourly breakdown of Mr. Reardon's services, but wasn't provided with one. And I'd like to address Councilman Kopp's comments at the last meeting. The fact is that Mayor Hill, Councilman Kopp, Latano, Gagan, you took money from McGuckin, okay? And it's a fact that you allowed the Assemblyman to create a position for himself. And again,
What has that
he's
got
not,
to do
and
with
he's
the
not
bill
here
list?
tonight. I'm not sure why the councilman wants to continue to talk about how a judge let him and his co-defendants off the hook, particularly given that McGuckin has 30 public jobs. But in response to his request, if Councilman Kopp pays the taxpayers back the $189,000 his uncle's firm, Owen Little, has billed the township since February when Councilman Kopp got him appointed to be the engineer at the planning board, then I will pay Kevin Reardon for defending you all in the pay-to-play complaint, pending the bill is accurate with respect to his billable hours. And I vote for the remainder of the bill list, yes.
Council President Maruka.
Yes, with the following exceptions for 20-05271 payable to Dasty McGuckin, 20-05651 payable to NJMVC, 20-05662 payable to NJMVC, and 20-05880 payable to Township Toms River, line item 93, to the NJMV lease program. I have a conflict, yes to the balance.
Now we will consider PO 20-05129.
Do we have a motion on that?
Before I make I'll make the motion to pay that, but again, Councilman Roderick, you're clear that you have no intention of paying that, correct?
I'll pay if Councilman
That was the
Kopp
question.
returns the money that his uncle has gotten since you guys got him appointed to be the planning board engineer, displacing a firm that had been here for 20 years. with a little Beechwood firm, a
Councilman
little
Roderick.
tiny Beechwood firm. I will then pay, yes.
Councilman Roderick, do you know when Doug Clee, who you're referring to, got actually...
Is that your uncle, Mr. Cobb?
That's actually my wife's uncle, yeah.
It's your uncle, okay.
So,
Thank
do you know when
That
he
would be your
got
uncle by marriage then? Is that what you're saying?
If you were
The
being
vice-
disruptive in
come
your
on.
classroom,
I got-
a student, you would send him to the principal. Can you,
I would, but I'm
for
not my
once,
student.
act like an adult?
Okay, I'm listening. Go ahead, Mr.
Do you know when he actually got appointed in Toms River?
To the planning board?
To zoning, planning?
Planning.
His first time is to planning, yeah, we'll go
He
start
just
there.
got appointed to planning. Right after he
No.
got elected, he got
No,
appointed to
He
planning.
got actually appointed in 2000. So, I don't know
To the
if you
planning
know,
board, he
but-
just got appointed to the planning board
So,
in
no,
February
first he was
2nd.
actually appointed to the planning board, then he was on zoning. Okay.
He's on the planning board since you got elected.
Okay, Councilman Roderick.
The other firm was there for 20 years.
Just so we're understanding each other, I'm 28 years old. So you're saying that at the age of 8, I started a conspiracy theory with my uncle here to
know what?
that we were going to.
I
was going to
don't
run
think
when
you're really
I turned
quiet.
28
I
years
think you're
old.
being
I mean,
disingenuous.
do you understand?
Your uncle got
you understand-
appointed to the planning board in February, sir.
Councilman Roderick.
In February.
He was put on the planning board.
Gentlemen,
in February.
we could go on all night here.
Got a planner, and he made
My apologies.
$189,000 on the planning
Excuse
board.
me.
My apologies, Council President. We'll continue on.
And he donated money to you.
Councilman Roderick, if you could not be respectful to this council, we will have a recess, and we'll come back out again. Because you do it time and time again.
Council Vice President Gagan moved the motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Motion made to pay PO 20-05129, made by Council Vice President Gagan, seconded by Councilman Yurick. Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes.
Councilman Yurick.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Lotano.
Yes.
Councilman Roderick.
No, and no one has seen an hourly breakdown either, but you're all voting yes.
Councilman Turnbach.
Just speak to the idea that this could have been handled in-house. And anyone that's familiar with the law is going to know that our in-house counsel represents the entire council. And we're talking about a lawsuit that was filed by Councilman Roderick against the rest of the council. And he's going to stand up here and tell this public, we spent your money because we had to go to outside counsel. I want the public to ask themselves how one attorney, in-house counsel, could adequately represent the interests of Councilman Roderick, who is suing the rest of the council. Just step back and use your common sense. That could never be. It could never be, because Councilman Roderick would be saying, you've got to go after him. We'd be saying, you've got to defend us. It's ludicrous. And the public needs to watch what happens in these meetings when Councilman Roderick is present and when he's not present. We don't want to behave this way. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. But this is what we're drawn. There's clearly a conflict. We had to go to outside counsel. None of the 6 of us wanted to be sued. I've never been sued in my life. And it was dismissed by Judge Ford. We weren't let off the hook. Read the case law. It's a dismissal in the rarest of occurrences. And that's what happened here. He stands up here and he asks the public, we're spending all this money. Pay the bill. Pay the bill. He filed a lawsuit. It was frivolous. It was dismissed on a summary judgment motion. Read the law. It doesn't happen, but it happened here. Pay the bill. I vote yes.
Council President Maruka.
I believe that question had been brought up before by Councilman Roderick, and our attorney at the time, Mr. Fitzsimmons, had explained it just as way that Councilman Turnbach had explained it, that we could not have done this in-house. But I guess Councilman Roderick did not want to accept that answer and just keeps on coming back. So, but in all fairness to Mr. Reardon, I will vote yes on the bill.
And next, we have elected officials' comments.
Councilman Roderick,
Well,
do you have a couple more papers there?
I've prepared quite a bit of comments. So I want to commend freeholder Vicari, Little, and Kelly for having the fiscal discipline and the courage to turn down Mayor Hill's request for a $2 million capital infusion so he could overpay for the surf club. Now, I think we should acquire the surf club, but the current assessed value of the surf club property is just $1.9 million, and the state of New Jersey generously offered $6.3 million in Blue Acres money to purchase that property. There's something fishy going on up at the beach. The owners of the surf club filed a tax appeal, and after offering expert testimony to the county tax board, they won that appeal in 2015. So clearly, the owners of the property don't believe it's worth $8 million. Given the surf club has been abandoned for 8 years, and the owners were unable to sell the property in the free market. I'm not sure why Mayor Hill and Councilwoman Maria Maruca want to fork over another $2 million for a grand total of $8 million. This property isn't even worth the $6 million that the state has offered, and we shouldn't pay a penny more than what the state is willing to give us. If the owners of the surf club are not happy with that, they can put a for sale sign up and see what they get in the free market. In the meantime, Toms River should tear it down and put a lien on the property until it's sold. In the event of another hurricane, the building is a hazard to all the surrounding structures that have been rebuilt, and it is an eyesore, and it's devaluing surrounding properties. The answer here is not to overpay. The answer here is to say, take it or leave it, okay? We shouldn't be giving them more money. It's not worth what they've been offered, and they will never get $6.3 million, never in a million years, and no one will ever allow them to build the amount of buildings that they were allowed to build back in 2012. So that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you. Councilman Turnbuck.
Thank you, Council President. This Saturday, November 28th of 2020, the Toms River Education Foundation is going to hold its first event. It's a 5K. Sorry. November 28th, 2020, this Saturday, Toms River Education Foundation is going to host their first event. It's a 5K run, walk, or roll. There's also a 1-mile fun run and a kiddie dash. It's going to be held right outside Town Hall. The Toms River Education Foundation was formed within the last 6 months. The purpose of the foundation is to try and address gaps in the budget to make sure that our students at the Toms River Regional Schools are able to participate in extracurricular activities, the arts, sports, that those programs aren't cut because of a lack of state funding. And it's also to ensure that there is no pay to play for the students. In other words, that in order to participate in those sports, students would have to pay. So we've created this foundation in an effort to try and address that. Our first event is this Saturday, 2:45 kiddie dash, 3 o'clock 1-mile fun run, 3:30 5K run, walk, or roll event. I'm going to encourage the residents to please come out. We're practicing social distancing, CDC guidelines. Saturday is also Small Business Saturday in the downtown, so I'm going to encourage our residents to come out, support our local businesses, come to the race, and then go back out and support the downtown. Last Friday was probably one of the nicest moments I've had on this council in the last 3 years. We've been distributing food to people in need here in Toms River for 35 weeks now straight at the Toms River Presbyterian Church. Last Friday, Phil was providing us 500 turkeys to provide to our residents who don't have the means to afford a Thanksgiving meal. And a number of the council arrived by 7 a.m., and we had cars lined up around the Presbyterian Church and out onto Hooper Avenue. And for an event that was supposed to start by 9, we were probably out of 500 turkeys by 10. The bid director went to ShopRite to try and acquire some more turkeys. Our council president made a call to Fulfill, and I've never seen an organization quite like Fulfill. I have to tell you how impressed I am with them, how I will support them for the remainder of my life for what they've done for our residents. Our council president called Fulfill. We were staring at a line of cars, people hoping for a turkey that we didn't have. If Phil came up with another 500 turkeys, and I'm proud to say that we handed out over 1,000 turkeys, and 1,000 families in this area are going to be able to celebrate Thanksgiving with the turkey. So, you know, if you have means and you're looking for an organization to support that supported the residents of Toms River, please consider supporting for Phil. That's all I have, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman Sherbrooke. Councilman Kopp.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to wish the residents of Toms River hopefully a happy and healthy Thanksgiving. I also look forward to seeing the residents, along with most of this council, will be down at the race on Saturday. And I think Councilman Latano's doing the 5K along with Councilman Gagan, right?
Yeah.
And I look forward to seeing everybody down there. That's all, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman Kopp. Councilwoman York.
Council President, is it possible to have either our CFO or our planner comment on the rules for Blue Acres and Green Acres to explain to Councilman Roderick's comments about the fact that they currently have a decreased appraisal for a tax appeal, but that's not how those grants work.
With the, sure. Mr. Roberts, would you like to just briefly go over the qualifications for Blue Acres and Green Acres, which are the two properties that are known as the Surf Club properties, both the beachside and the parking lot up on Ocean Avenue?
I'll try, Madam President. I think basically both programs are operated under the DEP. Normally, they are a grant loan option. The Blue Acres program is different than the Green Acres program because it looks for waterfront property. My understanding, not having been really directly involved in this particular situation, is that it's based on a fair market appraisal that the DEP has
So the DEP had to get an appraisal on the property. Thank you.
Right, and it has to be a willing buyer, willing seller.
Okay.
Excuse me, Mr. Roberts. Am I correct that the DEP, their property appraisal was 6.3, and Ms. Urick is correct that it's based on what could have been built, prior to 2012, excuse me, prior to 2012.
Do you know what-
So not even what the property had on it, but what you could have put on it in 2012, which would be a lot more, correct, than what you could put there today? Is that
Actually,
correct?
you know, Mr. Roberts-
Excuse me for a second.
Excuse-
You brought up Mr. Roberts. It's my turn to
I know,
speak,
but I
Council
would think-
President. You do this all the time, and then you accuse me of
Excuse me.
interrupting you, and you're going to beat the
But
hammer, and
excuse
you're
me, Councilman
silencing
Roderick,
me, and the public would like to hear
I'm
this.
not going to
They-
silence you. I
brought
would
him
like
up.
Mr. Merlino to answer because he is more
I was
versed
in the middle.
this.
I didn't ask for Mr. Merlino right now. I have a question for one of the township employees
And
who
then-
you called up, and I'm in the middle of the question.
I understand, but
No, you
Mr.
don't understand. You're not
Mr.
following
Mel-
Robert's rules, and you're going to bang your gavel, and you're not giving me
And-
my opportunity, and it's really very upsetting.
You
It's
look
very,
up-
and
you
it's-
look upset, Dan. Mr. Molina, would you please answer
Why don't
Councilman
we want the
Roderick's
public
question?
to have a legitimate answer here? Why don't you want that, Maria?
We're going to give you a legitimate answer.
No,
if
no,
let-
you're not. You're not allowing the township planner to answer my question.
Would you defer to Mr. Molino?
On a case of how appraisals are determined, absolutely, Madam Chair.
Okay, so may I finish now?
Or do you want the answer from Mr.
I
Molino?
can take it from either, but I didn't finish the question. Thanks.
Finish
So,
the question.
it's my understanding that it would be what you could have built in 2012, and that you're not going to be allowed to build anywhere near on the beach what you were able to build then, which is why 6.3 million is significantly higher, which is why not a single developer has purchased this property in 8 years, because you can't build that stuff, and they want too much money. I mean, are we supposed to, Mr. Molino, are we allowed by law, here's a question for the attorney, are we allowed by law to pay 30-some-odd% more than appraised value for a property? And not even appraised value, but 2012 value? Are we allowed to do that as a township, Mr. Molino?
Well, let me just correct something in the record about the appraisal. The Blue Acres program is based on an appraisal conducted by the state, which neither party has seen, either party other than the state has seen. And the Blue Acres regulation valued the property on the day before Hurricane Sandy. So we're dealing with a number that goes back to October 28th of 2012. The Blue Acres program, as Mr. Roberts pointed out, is also conditioned upon a willing buyer and a willing seller. So there is no possibility of going to take the property by eminent domain. If that happens, the state is out, and the $6.3 million or over $6 million is off the table.
Thank you for your honesty, Mr. Merlino.
Councilwoman York, would you like to continue your council comments?
Thank you. So the point there is that the current appraisal that we're dealing with in terms of the Blue Acres and Green Acres money is not slightly under $2 million. The point is that the appraisal that has to be dealt with is the appraised value of the property prior to Sandy, the day before. And so that is closer to the $6 million that the state offered.
Right, not $8 million. We should pay what the state
So-
offered. We should not supplement
So,
it with an additional
excuse
$2
me,
million.
I am
She's in the middle of her
speaking.
council comments.
It's okay to interrupt her.
I did not interrupt you. You were able to perpetuate your lies and your false statements to the public to try to bias them against the rest of the council, who is trying to do a good job for the people of the township, and I did not interrupt you. So now I am setting the record straight. I've sat through these meetings. I understand that Blue Acres is required to go with an appraisal that was prior to Sandy, and that is closer to $6 million. It is actually slightly more than $6 million. That is the appraisal. A seller has the right to ask whatever price they would like, and that is why there have been negotiations, because sellers are allowed to ask, they don't necessarily receive. So that is why there are negotiations. No more comments, Mr. Roderick. I am speaking. Stop it. You were about to speak. Just really. So it's very rare that a property qualifies for Blue Acres funding. It has to be really special circumstances where the state is saying that they do not wish anyone to build on the property anymore for safety reasons, and they're willing to put money forward that's been set aside for this purpose so that the property owner is not out the value of their property because of natural occurring circumstances, flooding and such. So that is why we are in the situation that we are in. I also understand that there is a match requirement. Is that true, Mr. Merlino?
In most cases, yes. For Green Acres and Blue Acres, there's a local match requirement.
Okay. So there is a match requirement. That's part of what this is about, right? We have to, if the state is going to pay $6 million, it's my understanding that the township has to also contribute. It was, I'm not sure of the exact amount, but about two.
I don't know the percentage. It'll vary based on the
So,
acquisition.
needless to say, the township is required to make a contribution in kind.
Mr.
So-
Merlino?
So that, no, Mr.
Oh,
Roberts.
oh, I thought you were done. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Speaking. Did
Oh,
I
go
say I was done? I will notify
Oh, go ahead.
everyone
You
when I am
finish-
done
finish up.
speaking. You can stop interrupting. I want it to be very clear to everyone here and everyone listening that every single council member here is a taxpayer of Toms River. We don't want to see our taxes go up either. But sometimes there are circumstances where bills have to be paid, inflation occurs, and that is the way finance works. So we try as much as we possibly can to limit expenses at every opportunity. And when I have the director of Public Works tell me that the garbage cans that they are driving are 20 years old, that they're breaking, and I know with my personal vehicles, once a vehicle gets to the point where it costs me more money to fix it than it does to buy a new one, you buy a new one. When it becomes unsafe, you buy a new one. And in the middle of a pandemic, yes, we have an obligation as guardians of the people of the township to provide garbage services. In the middle of a pandemic, we do not need people's garbage piling up because our garbage trucks are broken. We still have code enforcement complaints, and code enforcement has to go out and take care of those issues and enforce the laws and the ordinances of the township to keep the township safe. We also have to have the building department functional, and as Councilwoman Maruka pointed out, they raised the funds to fund their department. So to keep saying that the council doesn't care about spending money, and the council will spend money on everything, and they must be driving around in gold-plated garbage trucks, I suppose, according to Councilman Roderick, it's just it's nauseating. We work very, very hard. We spend a lot of time. We rely on our professionals who do their due diligence. And I take great offense, and I think everyone on this council takes great offense, to Councilman Roderick's continued falsified statements, exaggerated statements, and he doesn't want to pay for a server that is 20 years old so that our dispatchers can't communicate. He says that there was no negotiation with the county, which is untrue. It was absolutely stated that we did discuss with the county, and I was not part of those discussions. But again, I have to trust the committee that was part of the discussions and the professionals, and it was deemed inappropriate that we could partner with the county. So yeah, we're going to follow federal regulations and federal rules, and we're going to upgrade that equipment for the safety of the residents of Toms River, of which I am one. So the lies need to stop, the exaggerations need to stop. We are all here to serve the people of Toms River. Every day. We were bagging produce and carrying potatoes and carrots and onions and for hours. Instead of doing my job that I get paid for, I instead spent the morning at the food distribution. And then I went home and worked until 8 o'clock at night to make up the time. So I don't want to hear about how we don't care about the residents of Toms River. And on that note, I would like to wish everyone a very happy holiday. Please stay safe, keep your distance, stay outside if you can, wear your masks, wash your hands, because we'd like to see everyone here in December and next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman York. Councilman Latano.
Thank you, Council President. I'm going to be brief. I'm just going to touch upon a few things that seemed maybe a little confusing. One of them is the radio project. There was talks with shared service. I know Councilman Kopp and Councilman Gagan and I, we actually took a tour of the county facility. We talked to the sheriff. It was also Councilman Turnbach and some others that took tours of other towns and other counties' facilities who've already updated to the new frequencies. It was determined the county could not take us on board at this time. Our town is just simply too large. That's what we wanted to do, a shared service agreement. It did not pan out. Another thing I want to clear up is Owen Little Engineering Firm is an engineering firm that represents many towns and counties. I know from Ocean all the way to Middlesex. I'm in the business, so I run into them in different towns, and they're more than qualified, and they do conflict inspections all over the place and represent lots of towns. The other thing I want to talk about is assessments. There's always talks about these assessments. Well, some of the assessments online you can find are, frankly, incorrect. I mean, I hear, there's a piece of property in Silverton that's assessed at $1 million, and now the surf club property on the ocean is $1.5 million. There's some discrepancies here, obviously. So you can't always believe the assessments that you find online, and a tax assessment is not always what the value of a property is, and I'm sure you all know that. If you look up your own tax assessment, it is not the true value of your home often. On a lighter note, the tree lighting service is on next Friday, the 4th, December 4th. Right now, with the social distance requirements, it's only 150 people allowed. So the township is kind of determining whether or not it's going to be virtual. There are some talks about possibly being able to sell, maybe for $1, tickets, so that 150 people could possibly be there to see it. We're going to figure that out and let the public know as soon as we possibly can. I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and I want to remind people that the December meetings move to 5 o'clock. So our next meeting won't be at 6, it'll be at 5 p.m. Have a very happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Latano. Council Vice President Gagan.
Thank you. I just want to commend the council members, Councilman Turnback, for his commitment to fulfill. It's been a wonderful time. I mean, it's amazing how many people are in need. Along with that, obviously they'll have a good Thanksgiving. I hope everybody here has a good, healthy, safe Thanksgiving, and see everybody on Saturday to run it off at the 5K. Again, another nice job spearheaded bipartisan efforts. Thank you. That's all I have, Council President.
Thank you, Council Vice President Gagan. I'm just going to talk about a couple things. The first was this past Saturday, there was a webinar held on the streetscape project for Ortley Beach. There was actually 2 presentations, but there was a lot of participation from the residents of Ortley Beach. This community has worked, and the committee has worked extremely hard on getting to where we presented on Saturday. I want to say there was at least 40 or 50 people through the course of the day of the 2 presentations. There was a lot of questions that came in, and they were answered either by the professional staff from NV5 or Mr. Roberts and myself were on there from the township. The public comment on that, I believe, goes until December 6th. Is that correct? And is that up on our website as of?
Yes, as of today.
Okay.
Dedicated page.
That is up on our website, so you can see slide by slide the streetscape project there. Has a lighting project to it. It also has a beautification project, and it also has some amenities and replacement projects for like benches and trash receptacles and things of that nature. And it looked really, really nice. And I know there was a lot of public comment that come through, and we'll be looking at each of those, but I know this project wants to get on pace, so public comment up until December 6th. The other thing I want to talk about, I'm just going to have to piggyback on what Councilman Turnbuck had said about last Friday and fulfill. Last Friday was overwhelming. Overwhelming in 2 ways. Overwhelming to see the need of the community, but also overwhelming to see the support of the community. You really had to experience the gratefulness and the gratitude from the residents that were able to provide Thanksgiving dinner to their families because of Fulfill and the volunteers. And also, I want to say the appreciation and the gratitude of the volunteers to be able to help the people in need. And when we ran out of food at 10 o'clock and they were lined up around the church and either Hooper Avenue or Chestnut, we didn't know what to do. But we reached out to Fulfill, and they did answer the call. Not once, but twice we had to go there. And I got to say, the need in Toms River was great because last Friday, they had 900 families registered at the People's Pantry on Hooper Avenue, and they were having their own Thanksgiving dinner giveaways there as well with turkeys. So they did a yeoman's job. They're an organization that could use monetary funds. They're an organization that could use volunteers to help, pack crisis boxes and things of that nature. So if anybody is charitable this Christmas season, that's a great organization to support. And the last thing I just want to say is to our residents of this town, we wish you a happy, healthy, and safe Thanksgiving season. And hope to see everyone out on Saturday for the 5K for the Education Foundation. On that note, I will open it up to public comment. Please raise your hand once called upon. Please state your name and address for the record. When you're called to the mic, please state your name and address for the record. We do have a 5-minute rule. I'd like you guys to keep your comments concise and let us know what you're thinking of. Anyone from the public have a comment? Sir?
Marvin Leadbeater, 1608 Otter Drive, Toms River. I get a question, the reevaluation of the taxes, the property taxes. Did they start that already? And are they only doing outside, or are they doing inside and outside?
Mr. Amoruso?
Yes, sir, they've started, and right now it's only outside.
So it's going to be a second phase, and they're going to do the inside at another time?
They're still waiting for direction from the State Department of Taxation. That hasn't been determined yet.
Okay, but do we hire them to do inside and outside when we hired the firm to do it?
We hired them to do evaluations. So whatever method they use to get an accurate evaluation is what they're going to have to perform, and it's governed by the state.
Okay, so what about all the people that put stuff in their houses over the years, or the new people that have been moving in and doing stuff in their houses? If they're not going to go inside, how are we going to know, if there's 10 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms, they're not going in the house?
Good question.
Mr. Leber, you know what? I think COVID has put a different spin on this. That's why Mr. Amoruso said we're waiting guidance from the state on how to proceed with this. We're not the only town that is in this position.
Okay.
So once we get further guidance, then the reval company will be instructed, the residents will be notified. But right now, we are waiting guidance from the state of New Jersey.
Okay. I have another question. The surf club. Why are we actually buying the surf club?
For open space purposes and to keep the beach open there. It's a waterfront property.
Okay. But doesn't that only benefit the few people that live in that neighborhood?
I think it benefits anyone that uses the beach, and most of the 90,000 residents, quite a few, use the beach areas. Our only public beach is over in Ortley. Of that size, we do have smaller beaches down at Shelter Cove and also at Money Island.
May I, just so you're aware, I think there's some confusion because of the comments that came after mine. They always make me go first. But the thing is the state has offered a certain amount of money allocated for this Blue Acres, and they could take that, and it would be more than the property is worth.
Right.
But the mayor and the council want to pay even more than that, another $2 million, and the freeholders turned them down.
Some more misinformation from Councilman Roderick.
That was the point that I was trying to make, but yeah, I mean, so it wouldn't really cost taxpayers if they accepted what the state was willing to give, which is 3 times what the property is worth.
What was the deal with the piece of property we were given Ocean County?
Sir, since we're in negotiations, we are not going to speak about this evening in detail, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
You're quite
When are
welcome.
you going to be able to speak about it, though?
Once the negotiations are finalized and we go to a contract.
Okay.
It's all in the newspaper, sir. You can check it out on
Anyone
Asbury
else
Park
from the
Press.
public wishing to speak? I'm from the public. Okay. Maren?
I usually don't speak. I usually let everyone else speak for me, but I did want to read something a little bit. So, good evening. For those who don't know me, my name is Maren Bellick. I'm the Executive Director for the Downtown Toms River Business Improvement District. Since July, I've been working to try to help the businesses within the downtown district during a pandemic. Although there have been many difficult moments, the support and sense of community within Toms River has been amazing. Last Friday, I had the privilege to work with an inspiring group of individuals who helped distribute food that included free turkeys to many residents in need. As I watched the line of cars extend well beyond the parking lot of the church, I saw volunteers pack grocery bags with donated food for hours. When all the turkeys were gone, volunteers raced to the grocery store to purchase more turkeys to ensure every family received one. I saw firsthand, when times are tough, Toms River unites and helps their community. By believing and working together, many families will now be able to have food for the holidays. At this time, I want to thank Council and the Toms River residents for allowing me to be part of your community. It is also at this time I would like to remind everyone that not only our residents are in need, but our small businesses are in need too. This Saturday is Small Business Saturday, a day that everyone can make a visit to a small business and dine at one of our many restaurants in downtown Toms River. It is well worth it, and many of the special offers will be posted on the Downtown Toms River Facebook page. Although the street closure will no longer be happening due to the cold weather and due to the governor's executive order, we are still encouraging everyone to shop small, not just Saturday, but all season long. Small businesses are the backbone of the community in Toms River. The owners are hard workers who not only employ many of our neighbors, but also many of them live alongside us in Toms River and contribute to our communities. They support our Little League teams, our schools, and our charities. They provide the essential character of Toms River. This holiday season, we are encouraging our businesses and residents to participate in decorating for the holidays to bring cheer and happiness during a difficult time for everyone. During the month of December, people will not only be encouraged to shop within the downtown district, but also take a walk through the district to look at the decorations. By the end of the week, next week, Business Improvement District will also have large snowflakes displayed outside through the town and will be kept up for the holidays. This holiday season will be different for many families and businesses, but through persistence, determination, and with the support from a united community, our small businesses across the town will be able to bounce back from the financial hardships stemming from COVID. I'm sure everyone in this room understands we still have a long way ahead of us with this pandemic. Small businesses will still face hardships. Together, we will be able to help our neighbors, our business, and our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Maren. Anyone else from the public? Ma'am in the first row, please. Yes. No, ma'am, you in the first row, please. You're recognized by the... Yes, ladies first.
Good evening. My name is Lorraine Harwellick, 605 Vision Avenue in Toms River in Windsor Park. I would just like to introduce myself to the council, just standing here to say hello. I am going to be enjoying learning more about all of you, discovering your background, your professional background, why you went into politics, why you wanted to be on the council. But I have to say, I'm especially impressed by Mr. Roderick.
Thank you.
I admire his spirit, and I admire him standing up for the residents. Now, I don't know the details of everything, but I'm going to find out. And I do know a little bit about the things he was discussing. I do know a little bit about real estate, law, and a little bit about computers. So I just want to say hello, and I hope to see you again, which I will, and eventually meeting each one of you and learning more about all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Mr. Anderson. No, you'll get your turn.
Art Anderson, 12 Park Street. I was just curious. I didn't know the meetings in December are at 5 o'clock.
We always done. That's been a tradition here because of the fact that people they have family obligations, things of that nature, so we move it to 5 o'clock. That has been, I would say, for the past, 25, 50 years in that respect.
Is there any possibility that we can go back to a call-in question because there might be someone from the public that can't make it at that time? Or maybe put the question out and forward. Maybe you can ask that question?
Well, you know what, Mr. Anderson, we're always available 24/7. Anyone can email us a question. It doesn't have to be at a council meeting.
Okay.
So if you have something, don't wait till the second or fourth Tuesday. Please reach out to us.
Okay.
We're always available.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thought you were the press with the camera. Are you public?
I'm not taking pictures.
I know you.
It's a public right. Can I speak now?
come up to the microphone. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is John Solanas. I'm your neighbor. In Waters
Didn't
Edge,
recognize you with the mask.
2218 Waters Edge Drive, right here in Toms River. If you knew your constituency, you'd know that I'm your neighbor, Maria. There still isn't a traffic light outside of our complex, even though there's accidents all the time. I spoke to this council last year, and you said that you'd speak to the freeholder board. You have not done so. There is no light, and it's still an accident waiting to happen.
Well, Mr. Solanas,
I'm speaking.
please finish and then I will answer you.
This is the public comment section. I can speak for as long as I need to until my time is up, okay? It is the job of this council to look after every taxpayer dollar. Why is it that every time that Mr. Roderick speaks, you guys interrupt him? But when Councilwoman Urick or Councilman Turnback or Councilwoman Maruka speaks, nobody else interrupts them. Every single time. It's pathetic that instead of making excuses for every time you guys overspend, which you are overspending, that's why our taxes are going up and why we're overspending for the surf club, why is it that you guys aren't questioning everything that's going on like Councilman Roderick is? Because you all have connections somewhere. You're all making money somewhere. You all have friends and family members that work for this town or work for the county, and it's pathetic. I'm tired of it. For decades, this town has spent our money foolishly, and that's going to end. And it's time that people start questioning you, because if you're not going to let Councilman Roderick speak, then members of the public will speak. And that's going to start happening at every single meeting. And I hope you're ready for that. Let me ask you something, Councilwoman Maruka. Do you know the Barcelona family? Are you friends with the Barcelona family who owns the surf club property?
I know the Barcelona family. I think anybody in Ortley Beach or on the island knows the Barcelona family.
That's very interesting. That's very interesting. Is that why we're overpaying for the surf club?
Because I know the Barcelona family are known by myself in Ortley
You've
Beach.
known them for years, haven't you?
People know the Barcelonas. I mean, what you're insinuating is not correct. The price of the surf club property is set by the state, and I'm not going to discuss much more on that because of the
It was set by the
negotiations.
state, but we're going to overpay it, right? Isn't that the point that Councilman Roderick was making?
Council Roderick was making inaccurate statements. Once the record is straight and the contracts are ready, then
All right,
everything
still
will
my,
be.
Still my section. I'm not going to make it about your time.
Okay.
You know, this is absolutely pathetic. And you sound like a bunch of children up here. You don't sound professional at all. Every time that he speaks, you got to speak over him, and you got to censure him, and you got to do all this crazy stuff. Why don't you let the man speak? He was elected by the people to stick up for the taxpayers. That's exactly what he's doing. And it's pathetic that you wouldn't let me speak, even though I was one of the first people to have my hand up. I don't know why that is. I'm a member of the public. I live in your development, Maria. Your development.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tired of this council. I'm tired of the way that you talk to Mr. Roderick. I'm tired of the way you treat the taxpayers. And I'm tired of you wasting our money. And that's all going to end very soon. Thank you.
Okay. With the traffic light on Fisher Boulevard, there has been a request that has been made to the county engineering, and they are doing traffic counts on that, but it's not the control of this council. It is a county road, and it would be put in by the county. And if you have a comment, you're going to come to the mic, but I'll call you back up if you put your hand back up. And you know what? Mr. Roderick, excuse me, you've already had your first time.
It's still my time. My time was not up. Was
Did
my
you-
time up?
Was the time up on that?
My time
30
was not
seconds.
up. Oh, so I can still speak.
30 seconds.
Are you making that up? Is that arbitrary? Because you could be sued for that, you know.
You're probably down to about 25 seconds right now.
Okay. Do more. Do more for Water's Edge. You live there. You can get that light in there. All you got to do is make a couple phone calls, and you'll save a lot of people's lives, because people's lives are at risk, that dangerous intersection. Every time you pull out of there, and you've seen it. Last time I spoke about it, you said yourself, there's a lot of accidents.
I do not disagree with you.
Okay, well then do something about it, Maria. You've been on the council for how long? How long now? What have you really done for us, the taxpayers? What have you done for us besides get our taxes raised?
Why don't you ask the constituents who I work with on a daily basis? I'm sure a few of them. I'm sure a few of them will be getting up to speak shortly.
You're too busy down at the DMV to do anything. You kidding me? Come on.
Okay. In regard to interrupting, Mr. Roderick has interrupted everyone on this council when we speak. So I think what you have said is, I'll use Councilwoman Heurick's word, laughable. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak this evening?
That's all professional.
Sir?
Thank you. My name is Tom Smith. I live at 520 Whitesville Road. I'm here because I tried to approach the zoning board, and they directed me to come here with the issue that I have. I've spoken to Mr. Roberts quite a few times. We've never actually met. This is about Block 2, and it's lots 3081 through 3084. It's the only Pinelands in Toms River Township, and there is construction going on there with no permits, no approvals from Pinelands from the township. It's adjacent to our residential property. And they put in a truck terminal. They brought in about 1,500 yards of fill.
Do you have the exact address, Mr. Smith?
Yeah, now here's the other issue with trying
Because we can have code enforcement take a look at that.
Yeah, and I've been on the phone with Bernie Mackle numerous times about this. It's 534 Whitesville Road, so the frontage is the Jackson address. The truck terminal's been built on Toms River lots that are the back of the property that aren't on the road frontage. And we've been going around about this for going on 4 years now. It's been about an acre and a half have been cleared. I watched them today. They went another 100 feet. So they brought in all this fill. There's a fleet of trucks. And I'm here because the trucks are in and out all hours of the night. When they start in the morning, there's a fleet of 2 dozen trucks there. We have diesel smoke all through our yard. So the fact that it's not permitted by anybody, I'm just trying to find somebody to do an enforcement. And I know zoning issues some violations for it. My understanding is that people don't show up to court. And then the other issue is I believe the municipal court can only issue like a $200 fine for this. So if somebody's renting out a truck terminal, a $200 fine isn't very much of a problem. So I just want to put it on the record because I've complained in writing over and over again. So
Okay.
I'm just come down and do this in person.
Mr. Amoroso, would you be able to follow up with this with Mr. Molino in the morning, please?
Yes, 534, you said?
534 Whitesville Road.
Whitesville, correct.
Okay. We'll have somebody go out and take a look at it first thing tomorrow.
Thanks very much.
Right, Bob? Thank you.
Anyone else from the public wishing to speak this evening? Tony?
Hi, good evening. Tony Tamarezzo, 265 Coolidge Avenue, Ortley Beach, New Jersey. Councilman, when I was 8, I was still playing with Barbies, so you're way ahead of me. But 33 years ago, I bought my first piece of residential property. 33 years ago, I'm an old lady. And I got 2 pieces of advice from my father. He said, buy low, sell high. He wasn't the greatest finance guy. And he said, make a capital plan for every piece of property you ever buy, Tony. Make a capital plan. Replace your condenser before it breaks down on you. Get the cracks filled. Get your power washed. Get things, make a plan, and keep up with it. And it served me great over the course of my lifetime. And that's exactly what I see Toms River doing, and I fully support that. You should have a capital plan. We want to replace things before they break down. We want a good capital plan. This is an ongoing entity, our great city, and we have to have a plan to keep it running. No one wants to pay taxes, but I sure want to see it run professionally, and I fully support a capital plan that replaces all of that. But given that we have expenses we have to do, there's things we need to do and there's things we should do. And the thing we must do and should do now is support the purchase of this surf club property. And I stand tonight to dispute some misinformation that is constantly being spread that should not be. And it's a shame that I had to come out tonight and subject myself to possible contamination because I felt I had a moral obligation to my neighbors to come and correct this misinformation. And I appreciate the chance to do that. You know, when you have real estate, there's a difference between a tax assessment and an appraisal and the market value. There's 3 legs to this stool, right? And anybody in this room or anybody listening that wants to sell me their Toms River property at their tax assessment, my checkbook's in my pocketbook, I'll sit on the bench and line up, right? And I'm sure that my other people in this room will do it. That's simply the way of life. Then there's an assessment. How does an assessment work? Assessments are done by professional organizations. With commercial property, like the property that Surf Club was, there's at least two components, and Mr. Merlino can confirm this. There's the property value of that component, and then there's the business value of that component, right? And then there's a third component. It's what will the people be willing to pay? That's the real value of real estate. If I put my house up for sale today, it's not what you're assessing me on my property value. It's not what my assessor that I may hire says. It's what Councilman Latano might be willing to pay, or Councilwoman Maruka might be willing to pay. That's what the market value of a property is, and what goes into that. It's what's the usefulness of that property. Well, what's the usefulness of the Surf Club? It is the last piece of oceanfront property that we are going to be able to capture in this great town. And if we don't do it now, it's not going to be there for my kids or your grandchildren or any future generations. When I bought my first home in Ortley Beach, I never thought that we would be able to capture this kind of open public space. And I know the Barcelonas. You want to know how I know them? I know them from going to the Surf Club from the time I was 18, and the drinking age was 18 when I turned 18. That's how I know them, and that's how we all know them, right? They have an opportunity here to sell that property, but that opportunity didn't start just now. They had CAFRA approvals prior to Sandy. Joey Barcelona is an elderly man. His family is looking clearly to finitize and monetize their assets, and they started that process before Sandy. After Sandy, they gave consideration to rebuilding the Surf Club and ultimately decided that it wasn't the right opportunity. The Ortley Beach Voters and Taxpayers Association immediately stepped up in the fall of 2018 and said, we need to encourage the sellers to contact the state of New Jersey for Blue Acres and Green Acres. It is very rare. Do you know how many properties in the state of New Jersey have actually qualified for Blue Acre funding in 2019, 2020? Does anybody want to guess? Let's say acres. It's minimal. It is minimal. We're lucky to get that gift. You know, for Christmas, I'm hoping to get the new Baldacci book. The township got 6.3, which was ultimately raised more based on additional help under the rules. That's a gift. But it doesn't mean that that's enough to settle the sale. And if it takes the township's contribution, both in matching funds and additional funds, to get it done, we have an obligation to do that for the future of this whole community. We had a gentleman rise today and say, it only benefits the people of Ortley Beach. That is absolutely, unequivocally untrue. It benefits this entire community in two ways. It increases the market value of the homes. If you would allow me to wrap up, Council President. It increases the market value of the homes substantially, which will increase the ratables in Ortley Beach, and it provides more than 100 parking spaces. That means that our residents that visit our beaches will have more opportunity to park their cars and come enjoy that space. If we can spend money like we should on other recreational programs, we should spend the money that it takes to buy the Surf Club property. That is the obligation of Toms River, and I'm happy to hear that we all of us, right, want that property purchased. We need to settle on the right dollar value is, and we urge you to get this deal done. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Joan?
My name is Joan Strathern. I live at 426 6th Terrace, Ortley Beach. I want to start by saying that I have been very cautious throughout this COVID crisis epidemic. I have not been going to indoor places. But even though I did not feel comfortable coming here tonight, I felt so strongly about the issue I want to talk to you about tonight that I came to this indoor meeting anyway. Many of you know me well because, along with others, I have worked for many years through the Ortley Beach Voters and Taxpayers Association for the betterment of the part of Toms River known as Ortley Beach. I have worked hand in hand with township employees and elected officials. I began fighting for beach replenishment and better beach maintenance from 5 years before the devastation of Superstorm Sandy, and I continued after the storm to work with Toms River and the Army Corps of Engineers and the residents of Ortley Beach to bring about the replenishment and the rebuilding of Ortley Beach. I tell you all about this work that I did because I want you to realize that I'm not just some complaining citizen demanding action from this council. I feel it is appropriate for me to ask you to do the right thing by finding a way to close the surf club deal, which will create more public space. And this is an invaluable acquisition. There's no other beachfront property that will ever be available to Toms River in the future. This is it. We will be creating more public beach and more parking near the beach for the citizens of the whole of Toms River community. And really for the citizens of New Jersey and beyond. I believe that if you took a survey of the people on the beach on any given weekend, you would find that Ortley Beach residents are in the minority. This beachfront property is not only for the people of Ortley Beach. However, the residents of Ortley Beach have paid a considerable amount of money through their taxes toward the Open Space Fund. I believe that about that amount of money that Ortley Beach has paid equals many more times over the price that Toms River needs to contribute to this deal. Toms River has been guaranteed the majority of the cost of this through Blue Acres and Green Acres, federal Blue Acres and Green Acres funding. It would be a crime to throw away this contribution by not coming up with the rest of the money for the deal. I would like to liken it to a football game. You had your first shot at the goal, and unfortunately, with the freeholders, that possibility was rejected. But I know that you can come up with another run for this goal, and I'm asking you to do that. I'm asking you to do that without relying on other funds from others. I'm asking you to make that touchdown, and I'm asking you to not delay it and do it now. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak this evening?
Seeing none, I move to close the public portion of the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to go into executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Whereas Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances to discuss matters requiring confidentiality and/or of a privileged nature, and whereas the Township Council is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Toms River in the County of Ocean and State of New Jersey as follows. The Township Council will now conduct a private executive session. The general nature of the subject matter to be discussed and or acted upon is as follows. Matters of personnel, attorney-client privilege, and contract negotiations. The following specific items to be discussed and or acted upon are as follows. The executive session minutes review of November 10, 2020, personnel issues of the Township Clerk's Office and the administration, and review of status of all real property acquisitions. It is anticipated that the deliberations conducted in closed session may be disclosed to the public upon the determination of the Township Council that the public interest will no longer be served by such confidentiality. Motion to go into executive session made by Councilman Yurick, seconded by Councilman Latano, with all in favor. at 8:35 p.m. 7:35 p.m.
Test, test.
Terrence! How you doing? Good, man. Oh, there you go.
No, but I'm saying, no, the people that are already there on the ocean. If they build
Oh. Lucky us. All right.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adopt the executive session minutes of November 10th, 2020. All in favor?
You need a roll call on that, Al.
Okay. Motion made by Councilwoman Yurick, second by Councilman Turnbuck. Councilwoman Yurick? Yes. Councilman Turnbuck? Yes. Councilman Kopp?
Yes.
Councilman Latano?
Yes.
Councilman Roderick? Council Vice President Gagan?
Yes.
Council President Maruka?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good Thanksgiving.
7:45. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, Dan.